I got into this because I wanted to know what my dog wanted. I got into this because know what all day.
And I'm Lindsay. My learners are Dewey and Dusty, who are sleeping next to me right now. We've been learning since November of 2020 with Dewey, and then Dusty joined the family in January of 21. So he's relatively new, but Dewey's an old pro at this point. We got started. I wanted to be able to track in real life. I'm a library science professor, so I wanted to be able to track the data, and saw Mary and Honeybutter's dog computer and thought, well, I don't have the time to make my own computer, but I can gather data and wrangle it in visualizations. So put together the dashboard and shared with everyone so that we could all track our learners' progress together.
Yep. And I took Lindsay's template originally back before the app, and I added in other parts to it, making it for multi-learners and trying to add in some other cool fun stuff it would do automatically. And then Marilyn took those and went crazy with adding all kinds of customizations to our visualization. Good crazy, I promise. And so that's why the three of us are the ones who are really talking to you about this today. All right. So first off, starting off with sort of what is a dashboard. So when we talk about dashboard, at least today, we're generally talking about our Google Data Studio visualizations, but they can look like all kinds of things. That's why I have these examples. The first three are from Marilyn, next three are from Lindsay, last three are from me. And you can see there's all different kinds of ways to visualize, different backgrounds, different colors, different text boxes. Some of it can be the same. And I didn't show all of the visualizations by any means in this. But so you can see and these are just a little bit closer, all kinds of things. So when we're talking about dashboards today, this is the idea, is how are we visualizing the data, of our learners pressing buttons, and then especially through the app, also teachers pressing buttons. How are we modeling with button presses? And so our dashboards are a way to visualize that and see all the different kinds of things over time, as well, changes and things like that. So this is our goal, is to make all this lovely data that we're putting together with the app nice and visualized, so you can see it, not just lots of numbers on a screen or lots of text on a screen kind of thing. So like I said, the old way of doing it, the way it was originally set up, was with Google Forms and Google Sheets. And if you really want to go back to that old way, those templates still exist on our forum, and you can see those links there. The templates are still there, so you can create your own Google Forms and everything like that. But honestly, it was most useful when we had no other options for tracking data, just because now with the app, we're trying to make it a lot easier. That's sort of the goal of the app, is to make all of this easier. So now we have the FluentPet app, and I have a little screenshot of just sort of my household. And you can see we have learners. I have Orion, Percy, and Hero there, as well as teachers, Jenny and James, being me and my husband. So if you are involved in the research for phase 1, through the forum, there's a way to join the FluentPet app beta. However, I'm about to share a link in the next slide for anyone to join. So even if you're not in the phase 1 research right now, you can join. However, be aware it is still a beta. We're working on it, and hopefully it will be public and final soon. I'm not going to put a timeline on it. But it is still beta, so just so you know. But the idea is it's a much easier way to track presses now than using the Google Forms and things. So you go ahead, you sign up. So there's that link that I was mentioning. So you sign up to use the app. Right now, again, beta. Once it's out publicly, it'll be on the Google Play Store and all of that. And then once you have the app, you're going to need to sign in. So you can either sign in with Google or you create a new account. If you already have an account for FluentPet, like you ordered buttons through them or anything, eventually, I'll let you know, we're working on sort of a single sign-on. But right now, you'll have to make a separate account for the app. I'm sorry. We're working on it. But an important thing is, so whatever email address you use to sign up through the fluent.pet/app sign up link, use that same email address. So if you use your, jenny@gmail.com to sign up for that, make sure that you use that to sign into the app as well. Otherwise, you might have like an authentication issue, and we'll have to probably go through a bunch more steps to figure out what's going on. So try to use that same address. And if you are in the research, if you use that same email address that you use for the research, that will help us connect your data, hopefully in the future. Right now, it doesn't necessarily do anything, but we're working on it. There's lots of stuff in the background, I promise. So once you get signed into the app, I'm not going to go into this a lot, but I just kind of want to mention, you're going to set up each learner. There's, of course, being your non-humans in the household who are using buttons or even maybe are not using buttons. If you have enrolled them in the research, you'll have a unique ID. So like, for example, I have like Percy_Jenny S. There's a spot in the app for you to put that unique ID. However, if you have learners in your household who are not enrolled, you can just skip that. You don't have to fill it in for now. It's not a requirement. And then, of course, add in teachers. I'm pretty sure we have at least 1 or 2 people who've added like a guest teacher. So if you have friends and family who come over once in a while, you can even do that just to sort of track other random people who are occasionally pressing buttons. So feel free to play around with that. And then you're going to start logging the presses. So once you have the learners and teachers, I didn't want to go into it again too much right now, but you can kind of see just an example of a learner press here and then the modeled press. One of the fun things about the modeled press through the app is you can tag, for example, who was present. So my example screenshot has Orion and Hero in my household being present and Percy not. And hopefully we'll be able to do fun visualizations with that in the future. So that can be a fun thing that, like, I don't think at least most of us weren't really doing through Google Forms or anything. So that's the end goal, is to have lots of interesting data and ways to visualize it. All right. So actual dashboard, that's why you're all here. Not so much to talk about the app. So I'm going to let you guys know, if you didn't know, we're working on an API connector. So yes, it's very exciting. So the goal is going to be that eventually, hopefully soon, again, unfortunately, I can't give a timeline because it's up in the air and we're partly waiting on Google itself to approve things, and that can take a while. But hopefully soon we'll be able to set something up where basically you can use this, you can approve this connector and say, okay, I authorize Google and I authorize the FluentPet app. And then all of your data from the app is going to go into your dashboard, your Data Studio dashboard. So all you should have to do once we get this up is you'll copy the dashboard, the template, you'll copy that, you'll make your own, and then it's going to update from the app automatically, and you're not going to have to download your app data or anything, and you're not going to have to play with it every time or anything like that. Now, with that said, it's not there yet, so we're going to go through the steps that you have to do currently, but that is what we're working on really hard right now in the background, and hopefully very soon in the next few weeks, we will have that connector. I can't promise, but hopefully we're working on it. And hopefully that will also make everything that we're going to talk about making it your own and customizing it a lot easier as well. So right now, unfortunately, is we are going to have so we're going to have to do a download. So for now, you're not going to have live data from the app to the dashboard. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into your app, and then in the menu setting, there's like an open interaction CSV. And that is going to be how you get your current data from the app. And we're going to take that and connect it over to the dashboard. We do have a video tutorial kind of stepping you through each step, and I'm going to link it one more time as well in the slides. You're going to definitely want to probably follow along with that video, especially when you're first setting it up, to make sure you have all the individual options selected. So you're going to go to your app, and once you have at least one or two things logged, open this interaction CSV. So your that step is once you have that CSV, so you've clicked on that open interaction CSV. If you're on Android, it'll give you an option to like open it. If you click that open, it should give you sort of like a menu, a list of files, and then you can save as Google Sheets. If you're on Apple, it'll give you a link instead. And I believe you have to go to the Numbers app, which I think is a standard like iOS app. So you go to the Numbers app, you open the link with that app, then you can download the CSV. And then once you've downloaded the file, then you can open it and save as Google Sheets. So the whole thing is you start on the app, you do that open interaction CSV, and then you're going to get it into a Google Sheets format. That's what you're doing through whichever steps. Once you have that Google Sheet, so your CSV is going to be your Google Sheets, you are going to go to the FluentPet app dashboard template, and you're going to create a copy. So there's a URL for the dashboard template, and we'll try to make sure that all these URLs from this presentation are available elsewhere after the presentation. So you can see in sort of the screenshot, you're going to go to that 3-dot menu on that template, and then you're going to select make a copy. Now, be aware you have to be signed into Google, or it can be like, we can't make a copy for you. So just be aware of that. Because it's a Google file type, it's a Google app, really. Google wants you signed in. So once you're signed in, go ahead, you'll go to those 3 dots, you'll make a copy. At that point, something's going to pop up that says, you want to copy this report, what's your data source? So from the data source, now remember, you already have your Google Sheet. You're going to open up that search, go to the very bottom and select create data source. From the create data source, it'll then have a pop-up. You're going to select, I believe it's like the Google Sheets, and you're just going to select the Fluent-Pet-Interactions-to date. You can kind of see at the top of this fuzzy screenshot. So, if you did it today, it would be -2022-04-05. You would select that and go through the steps, press continue, press accept. Then it would bring you back to this original dropdown here, and you'd be able to select it from the top. And then once you've selected that FluentPet Interactions Google Sheets as your data source, it will take you into your copy. And I'm going to let you know, when you first create it, not all of the graphs, but at least some of the graphs are going to look funky. Things aren't going to match up like they should. Unfortunately, it would take me probably most of this hour to go through individually and say, okay, you're going to connect this to this and that and that. So go through the video tutorial for exact details of what connects to what. But the example sort of here is showing, so the left picture is what that data source side will show. In Google Data Studios, if you clicked on this example, the date range dimension, you'll get a drop down, and then you'll select the correct one. And the video tutorial goes through making sure that you've selected the correct thing for each one. The template currently starts with data for the date and time of the most recent press. Now remember, this is not currently live. So the date time of the most recent press will show you when you last downloaded the CSV. So keep that in mind. And then the date each learner started, total number of presses by user, total number of presses by usage type, so like requesting an action or object, interaction seeking, that kind of thing. Use by time of day separated by hour and presser, number of presses per user over time, and total number of buttons over time. Now, with that said, really quick, this is what it starts with. The whole thing is you can then customize it even further and make it your own. So that's what this is all about. That was the basics. That's sort of how you're going to get it set up. But now we can go and play around with it. So Marilyn, do you want to explain how you set your stuff up?
Yes. I'm not going to go through every chart on every page. Just you can read the titles and figure out what kind of data I'm getting. But first of all, I want to thank Lindsay because I started out with her template and progressed from there. And what I did was I made my own app. That's the CSV file. And I made the columns to match exactly how the CSV columns look. So that all I ever have to do any given day is just copy and paste that whole file in there. And it's all done. However, that's taken like 5 minutes these days with so much data. So what I usually do is just highlight one day and copy it over at the bottom. Okay, now the green charts here, you can see the first one shows the total, today's words or phrases. So if Abby says 3 words at one time, it's only going to count as once. But I wanted to know how many actual individual buttons she was pushing. So I went through and looked through all the data that I have on the Google Sheets that Jenny was talking about and found a way to get every single button push. And I put the totals where it says total words spoken. I put those totals there. So you can see on that day, if I can't see it, but it looks like 16 grand total and 23 total words. However, usually when I look at this, I haven't copied my data in yet because the API isn't ready, but it will be soon. So this won't be a problem. But I wanted yesterday's phrases too. So I could at least have some data showing. And you can see the day before she had 25 total words spoken. Okay, next chart. Now, because I do a progress report, because I'm part of the research group, I want to see what Abby has done for the last 2 weeks. So this page shows today's data, which, like I said, usually when I look at it, there's nothing there because I haven't exported the data yet. But then it shows the last 7 days before that. And then the longer column shows all of those 7 days. And you can see the little scroll bar on the side. That's because it goes past the number that can fit on the page. So you can use your mouse and scroll down to see what's at the bottom. And then the next sheet. Okay, this sheet shows the previous 7 days, plus a picture of Abby. And then my longer chart shows all 2 weeks data. So you can see that she pushed, and why am I so blind? 335 words in that, buttons in that 2 week period of time. Okay, the next page. Again, I used Lindsay's information, but usually all of my data was blank because I hadn't uploaded my data for the day. So all I did was copy her charts. And I went into the definition part of it and changed the day from today to yesterday. And that way I can see all of today's data at the top. So how many categories did she press and what buttons and how many words in different categories did she press and which categories were the most popular with her? And then her reasons for pressing and the buttons used. Now, what I show here for the buttons used includes phrases too. So today, it's just not going to be up here, but today I actually changed those 2 charts, the green ones, so they show individual buttons pressed, because that's what I wanted to know. And the next chart. This is just for all time. So as of March 25th, the date on the top of this page, she had pressed 2,540 phrases, but 3,484 buttons. So this one I did already do the individual button presses from the day before. And I don't think there's anything else on that page. Next page. Oh, this one I really use. And I was really surprised how much I really love having this. This page shows every single note I wrote on her button presses for the last 2 weeks, excluding today. Because normally when I do my progress reports, I get up and export the data to my Data Studio app, and then it's the next morning. So I want to exclude today, and I get the 2 weeks period that they're asking information about. So if there's something unusual that she did, I write a note about it. Also, if there's something unusual for the whole day that doesn't really go with a specific button press, I can add an event note. And let's say on March the 11th, that she was at the groomers all day. I could put a note that Abby was at the groomers all day, and that's why she didn't press that many buttons that day. So when they ask for the progress report and they say, is there any days that your user didn't have access to the buttons? I can say, well, yes, by the way, on March 11th, she went to the groomers for 3 hours or something like that. And so I really ended up using this a lot more. Again, it has a scroll bar on the side, so I can scroll down to the other dates. Okay, the next slide. Okay, this is like, these 3 slides are like those first 3 slides, except for those first 3 slides I had filtered out so that it wouldn't show any modeling events. Modeling is when the teacher pushes the buttons. It only showed Abby's events. I only have 1 dog, so I don't know how I would have done it if I was Jenny. But this section, these next 3 slides, show only the modeling events. So next slide. There's the past week. It's just like the ones that were in that turquoisey blue in the second slide, except for these are just my husband and me. And we use guests for when the grandkids come over. So anybody who else pushes the button is guest. Next slide.
And really quick, I want to add that one of the cool things is with the app data, there's a column that says like, is human. And I think that's what I use for the template to sort of filter out or filter for modeled presses. And so if you're doing all these special customizations and things and you have multiple learners, you can do something like look at that is human column to decide if you're looking at modeled presses or just learner presses. All right, now you can go on.
I use the reason is modeling. And then I said, I said exclude for Abby's and include for ours. But yeah, I could have used and she is human. That would have been a really good one. And the next slide is just, we're already on that one. Okay, that shows the whole 2 weeks. So I modeled and my husband 156 times during 2 weeks. So that's an average of like 11 a day or something like that. We really upped our modeling, by the way. We have seen huge results from doing that. Yeah, I was getting lazy. Now I model a lot now, and it's really making a difference. Okay, let's go to the next slide. This just shows all of these categories that are listed down here on the bottom of each chart for all of 2021 from when I started on October 27th and all of 2022 to the last day that I had input or imported, I should say, into this app. And you can see her little buttons going up. Okay, next slide. Again, this is just a really cute app. I changed this one to show individual button presses, and I'll tell you why. she says all done by itself all the time. She says outside with other words numerous times. So before I did this, it was skewing the outside and all done. And I think if you remember, you probably didn't notice it, but if you remember back on the page where I did the individual button presses, the all done was like 540 and the outside was like 440. So there's still 100 all, but it showed the outside as like 200 before I fixed it. Because hidden down in the bottom corners of this chart were outside potty, play outside, outside smell, water outside. And so it was skewing the data so that I didn't really know how many times she was pressing outside until I fixed this one. And I really am glad I did. And those are my 11 charts, 11 pages of charts that I have for Abby. And as you see, I really do use them all.
And so this is something that Marilyn brought up. We were talking about this presentation, and Marilyn was like, "Oh, by the way, you probably know this." And I was like, "That would be amazing to add." So if you have set up your data, so you already have that Google Sheets, you've connected the Google. Well, you don't even necessarily have to connect the Google Sheets correctly to the dashboard, though I'd probably suggest it just because I think that's more likely to sort of give Google the correct concept to look for. But so after you've already set up your data, you can go in Google Sheets and you can see this is the add a chart option in Google Data Studio. There's an add a chart option from one of the top menus. And then you can select one of those chart types and just kind of click on the page. And Google will go and be like, well, you can edit it, but would you like this? And it will offer. So this example, I actually did with our sample data on the template. I went through and I selected that combo chart. And this is what Google gave me. I did not edit it any further. So you can see, and a really cool thing is, like, if you go and you do that add a chart and you do a combo chart again, it'll give you a different set of data. I mean, like, it's still your data, but like, it'll say, well, maybe, okay, that first one wasn't what you wanted. Maybe do you want dates as the, that x-axis instead, and presses on the y-axis, and it'll give you like a new option. So one of the things is, once you sort of at least started your app data and Google Data Studio thing, you can just play around with the add a chart and be like, I'd like to add something, but I don't know what. And just kind of see what Google suggests and play with it from there. Because at least from what I understand, like, Marilyn started with a lot of the basic stuff and then played around with it and was like, what could help me from here? And just kind of started making more. And honestly, even from the old version pre-app, that's kind of what I did with Lindsay's original template too, was I started with that basic and was like, all right, I would like something else. Let me add a new one. Let me add a new one. So you can do that. You can play around and make your own. All right.
I have a question to answer. Now, do I just type the question answers out, or do I say them?
You can answer here, but we're going to have time for questions in like a couple minutes. And then we can answer all the questions then. Okay. Sounds good. So Lindsay, as the original creator of sort of that Google form template and everything.
Our hero.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I just, like I said, I saw what Mary and Honeybutter were doing, and they were using Google Data Studio. And so our dashboard started out working from that Google form. Now I take a slightly different approach from Marilyn at this point. I still have about 6 months worth of data that aren't in the app yet, that don't export into that CSV because they're only in my original Google Sheet. So, and I know that's in progress to be able to upload old data. So what I do is just every 2 weeks, I go in and I download my CSV. I actually just push it to my phone with oh goodness gracious, I'm trying to remember what that's called on AirDrop. I'm a Mac user, so I just push it from my phone to my computer using AirDrop, and then I can take the columns that I want out of the export from the app, and then copy and paste those into the Google Sheet that I created originally, and then all the data is there. So if you go to Dewey's dashboard now, you'll see that a lot of the front page is showing a week's worth of data. So I try to do it every week, although I'm not always good at keeping up. But I mean, if you know a little bit about spreadsheet software and you know a little bit about the data visualizations, you can get away with playing around and just seeing what you can do. Worst case, you can always undo something or delete a chart if you don't like it. So don't be afraid to experiment. Like Marilyn, a lot of the things that I build, it was like, well, what else do I want to know? I started doing the side-by-side comparisons month to month because I was noticing that we had a lot of fluctuation, sometimes month to month, and it was kind of interesting to look back to back and see if I could track any trends. Sometimes too, like Dewey isn't as talkative in a month, so that middle chart, you can see even just in that small version, kind of the peaks and valleys. The top is kind of the data in aggregate, and the bottom is the purple bars are the average, daily average. And it was really helpful to kind of see like, okay, he wasn't as talkative, but you can kind of slowly see this progress building. But having that side-by-side comparison, sometimes he was using more phrases in a month, even though he didn't have as many button presses. You could see other markers of progress or other trends in the way that his language was developing, even if I wasn't just tracking the total number.
Did Lindsay freeze for you as well? Oh no. Okay, well, that was lots of good information. Hopefully it unfreezes and she's able to come back. But yes, so I mean, what she was saying with all the different visualizations, being able to customize. And this is just kind of showing you again the side-by-side comparison of how we have similar data visualizations, but you can also customize further. So with that, and hopefully if Lindsay rejoins us, if she had anything further to say, she can add it back in. Let's go ahead and let's open up to questions. So for now, we want to focus on questions specifically about sort of like the app and the dashboard, Data Studio kind of thing. I know that we have a couple. So first for Marilyn, does your word frequency chart include accidental presses or just perceived intentional presses? Ooh, that's a good question. Oh, and I see Lindsay.
Sorry, Zoom crashed.
It happens. Sorry, because you cut off. Was there anything else you wanted to say before we go to questions?
No, we can just jump right into questions.
Okay. So Marilyn, does your word frequency include accidental presses as well?
Yes, it does. But Abby doesn't do that many accidental presses. Usually if she does, it's because she's playing in the room and she's running to catch a toy or something. It's not like she goes up to her board and slips and falls down or walks across it and hits the wrong buttons too often. However, and I wanted to say this earlier, you can filter those out. Mm-hmm. Creating filters is very easy. And if you ever get to the point where you need help with it, I will be happy to be there for anyone who asks.
So I went back to this previous slide. I know it's really small, but we have like category use on the second one for Marilyn's and the first one for mine. And that's one of the things you can do too, is so I recommend track every press, whether you think it's accidental or not. One of the great things about the app is you can also do multiple contexts. So you could even do like a requesting object and attention seeking, and you're not sure. And then you can go back and be like, well, okay, so I don't want not sures to appear in my visualizations at all. You could also pull them out and look at just not sures and be like, are there any patterns here?
Yes.
So I 100% recommend, definitely, especially with the app. The app is so nice for being able to track everything. Now, obviously, if you have some learners, like some of us do, who just go crazy, it's always still hard. But if you track even what you think might be accidental, you can always filter them out or anything in the future. All right. So next question from Katie. Is this just for a personal interest, or do we send this to the researchers? Ooh, that's good. So I'm going to answer that one. So our goal is we are planning to have at least some of these very basic visualizations in the app itself for you. But the whole point is honestly for your own benefit. The researchers will get, for research purposes, they get the raw data. They get those long columns of all the dates listed and the button presses and the names and is human or not. They get all that raw data, and then they figure out what is or isn't useful. So all these visualizations, putting together these dashboards, is for you. This is to make those of us who maybe don't like looking at giant blocks of text, if that makes your brain break, like I know it does me, and I love data stuff. That's what these visualizations are for. So this is much more about you and helping you see your own data in helpful ways and playing around with it so that you can see it better. Because like if you're tracking in the app, great. But like if that's all you're doing, and maybe for some people just having it in text is helpful, and that's great. But I know a lot of people think more visually, or having a visualization can help you, see things clearer. Like Lindsay was saying, on her graph here, being able to see those peaks and valleys of use over time can be really helpful, as opposed to in an app, it's just a long list of things. So it's definitely the dashboard aspect of it is much more about you and your own personal use. Did anyone else want to add into that? Yep.
And I think that it's huge, because I think you're looking for that. The app gives you that total number of presses, right? And then you get, the silent periods I'm hearing from other folks are pretty normal too. But there may have been something really incredible that he did that month that was demonstrated a progress in his language acquisition in a different sort of way. If I was only looking at that raw number, you get kind of lost in, well, why isn't he, he only had 3 presses yesterday. What does that mean? And like the visualization at the bottom, it's a little funky. But I noticed that Dewey wouldn't use a word until he seemed to be able to use it in context. So I created that bubble chart just so I could kind of see if there was anything that I could learn from which words he was picking up more quickly. So the bubbles show the number of times he's used that word, their position up the chart. I'm
trying to get a bigger version of it real quick. The
position up the chart is how many days it's been on the soundboard. And then if you go across the x-axis, it's days to first use. So some of those words in that very first column were all words he used immediately, like smell. It took him 5 seconds, I think, to use that word. And you can see our newer words right at the bottom, whereas a concept like morning, it took us a lot longer. That was on the board for 205 days before he used it for the first time. Outside was our first word. So it took 18 days before he used outside from the time we added it. Whereas broccoli is the big bubble. A quarter of all of his presses, right? So which was the other interesting thing. So Marilyn, I have that tree chart that breaks out all the words. I have one for all of my words individually. I know, buddy. It's going to be dinner time, and Dustin. This is how Dustin is by moaning. But I also keep the one with all the phrases in it. So I've learned that over the past year and a half we've done this, Dewey's found 85 different ways to use broccoli in combination with other words. So there's some fun things that come out of looking at that data and kind of playing with it and asking different questions of it, that you start to learn like, oh, there's something else going on here that maybe I didn't see just by tracking on a daily basis.
And really quick, just because I was thinking of it and I'm back in this section. Remember how Marilyn mentioned how she separated out so you don't have the phrases in these boxes for this visualization? This is an example of what it looks like when it's phrases. So you can see, for example, like under Orion, you can see eat has its own box, but then there's going to be much smaller boxes down in that corner that we just see as, ellipses that are, eat now and, eat ice and things like that. So this is the example of, if you want to see it by phrase, not just word, but this is why Marilyn went through and basically isolated the words. So I just kind of wanted, since I was here, I figured I would show that sort of comparison. But that's one of the things, is having the, you can customize. And Lindsay, you're muted. But.
Sorry, yeah. The drop-down boxes at the top too, you can change, you can play with the way that you change the data. So like the one where I have all my phrases, there's actually a search box that you can throw in there. So if you only want to see instances of outside, you can search for all the combinations of outside. So there's some really fun controls that you can add to the visualizations. And sometimes they absolutely 100% break and don't work the way that you think they're going to work. But it's worth throwing it on the page. They only control the visualizations on that page and seeing what happens. So, yeah, don't be afraid to play around.
I think I'm about to have 12 charts.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that, Lindsay. That was great. I really do.
All right. So our next question, Rosemary, is I've looked at the They Can Talk Progress Report auto calculator spreadsheet and was totally confused. Is there a tutorial on what each column is and how to use it? So that one's for me. I created the auto calculator. Sorry if it's confusing. I was trying to, unfortunately, especially the auto calculator was based on those Google templates and forms prior to the app. So a really important thing to note for progress reports is that if you are using the app to track all of your presses and things, and you're filling out the progress reports for the phase 1 data for the How They Can Talk research, you won't have to deal with that auto calculator anymore. If all of your presses are through the app, the progress report is going to ask a question like, have you signed up for the app? You'll say yes. They'll say, have you for the last 2-week period, for this learning period, did you use the app for all of your presses? If you say yes, it's going to skip all of the questions about numbers. So you're not going to have to fill in, how many requests you had in the last 2 weeks. You're not going to have to fill in, which button was used the most the last 2 weeks. It does still have some questions right now on the progress report, which, by the way, I'm going to let you guys know, we're working on eventually, someday down the line, the progress report is going to completely go away and be replaced by the app. And we will have little pop-up surveys and things that you can do as you want to that are optional in the app. We're not there yet. Don't hold me to a timeline, but that is the eventual goal. But so for now, for the progress report, if you're doing everything through the app, you will still get some questions like what was, your learner's favorite button, because that's subjective, not objective. So if it has something to do with, your opinion, for example, let's say Hero pressed ice 500 times, but the last 2 weeks, honestly, he seemed to really prefer water. we'll ask about the favorite button. And if you want, you can fill that in and give us that number, but you don't have to do those. So when it comes to the progress reports and the auto calculator, I'm going to let you know it's so much easier. If you're just using the app, it's going to be easier. You don't have to deal with the auto calculator anymore. If you are still using the old setup with the Google Forms and the Google Sheets and all of that, you can always email me, jenny@theycantalk.org, Jenny with a Y, and I can try to help you. Like, if you share it with me, I will look through your Google Sheets for you and be like, okay, I found errors here, and here's how you can set it up. Like, I will personally help you go through it if you're having an issue, but you shouldn't have to do the auto calculator anymore, at least if you're using the app. So, all right. Next question from Jenny. So will the API be able to feed the app data to anywhere or just Google Data Studio? Ooh, that's a really good question. So right now, our goal is specifically Data Studio. Just because, so the idea with that auto calculator API that the app team is working on is you're going to have, starting with, just sort of the basic template. And then if you want to customize it, it's going to be a direct connection basically from the FluentPet app to Google Data Studio. However, with that said, we're also trying to prioritize and get at least some visualizations into the app itself. Right now, there's still a lot of question about like, how much can we do and like through the app itself and how long it's going to take. But we are working on getting those directly through the app. So eventually down the line, hopefully not too long, you'll be able to get at least some of this directly through the app without having to go through all the extra steps. I hope that answered your question, Jenny. Any other questions about the dashboard or the app, or Marilyn or Lindsay, any other thoughts that have popped up about the dashboard or app that you want to bring up really quick?
I had one thing I wanted to say.
Go for it.
And that's just that when the question came up about do the researchers see the Data Studio information, I got confused, as I tend to do, and I typed it out in chat. But I just wanted to let everyone know that if it weren't for these graphs, I wouldn't have realized that I had cut back on my modeling so much and that it was affecting Abby's learning her new buttons. It showed exactly where I was going wrong. Every time my modeling went down, her understanding and confusing sentences went up. And so I would highly recommend getting some kind of visualizations.
Wow, yeah. And that's exactly why I like to recommend the visualizations. It's why I originally went through, because of exactly that. I know that I tend to miss things too if I don't see, these nice visualizations and graphs. All right. I know that we have a question in Zoom. So Stephanie. All right. I think I asked you to unmute, so you can go ahead and. Yep.
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay. Hi. Sorry, I did get an email from a Kelly Marks.
Yes.
Regarding the app, and I replied back because it's not letting me download the app. I'm wondering if there's anywhere in the Play Store I can just kind of search it up. I don't know what it's called though. I haven't been able to download it.
Are you on Android, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Okay. I think there might be. So Kelly is the one. So Kelly Marks is the one who is the FluentPet person who is sort of most involved with the app without being a developer. So she is our one right now who is the one for if you have questions or feedback about the app or anything. And she is on this call. She's just kind of being quiet right now because she's dealing with a lot of stuff at the same time. So I would definitely say reply to Kelly, and she can help try to get you sorted out.
Kelly's commenting in the chat.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Thank you. Sorry, I don't have the chat up right now.
I know.
So thank you for letting me know. I think there may be a way to get it through the Google Play Store, but it's right now it's kind of hidden because it's beta version. So it is not like publicly accessible just yet. But that's a really good point though. If anyone, at the call or watching this video or on Twitch or anything is trying to get the app and is having problems, Kelly is actually the person that you're going to want to reach out to and be like, hey, I'm, for example, having an authorization issue. Unfortunately, it's a known issue right now that we're trying to get cleared up as soon as possible. I think we finally got it cleaned up on iOS. But Kelly is the one. And you can also go to our Discord community, and there's a whole channel just for app feedback on our Discord. So it's the They Can Talk Discord. And Kelly is really great about keeping track of all the conversations there, replying to feedback, pushing it to our devs and making sure all of that gets answered. So I know it wasn't a direct answer, but hopefully it helped. All right. And if we don't have any other specific, I'm going to just really quickly go through all of these slides. If anyone, obviously, still feel free to ask for app-related questions you have. But we also have just sort of open discussion now. If you have other button-related questions, both Marilyn, Lindsay, or I guess all, Marilyn, Lindsay, and I are all teachers for our learners and have all been at this for at least a little while. So if you have a couple of other questions, we have a few more minutes to answer other questions if you guys want.
I'll still argue that we're learners as well, but
no, that is, yes, that is 100% true. Quite honestly, we the humans are very much learners too, but we had to come up with a term to differentiate. So that's why our animals are learners and the humans are teachers. However, you are 100% correct. We're all learning.
Let me just add that I only started using this app, never even heard of it in January. Never heard of it in my life. And so it's doable. Yeah. You guys can do the same.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Rosanna asks, I feel a bit silly asking this. Don't feel silly. You're fine. I appreciate all questions, honestly. But where do I find these data screens? So I assume if you're talking about these visualizations, you would start. So these are all through Google Data Studio. So you probably know like Google Gmail. Google Data Studio is basically sort of an app that they have that are these Google Data Studio is designed for we have that those templates. Let me see if I can quickly grab the template. There we go. The template URL. I'm going to throw it in chat for you here. That template is going to take you to Google Data Studio's, that specific one. You can copy it from there. And then that's where you can start playing with and creating your own graphs and things like that. All right. Hopefully that helped. Yes. And I saw, really quick, Stephanie, your hand is still raised. Did you have another question?
No, sorry, I forgot to.
Oh. No problem. Just wanted to check. All right. I happened to actually see, I opened the chat. I saw someone, so hopefully I'm not out of order. Sorry if I am. Someone asked about anyone being able to use the beta app. So yes and no. You don't necessarily have to be part of the research to use the beta app. The reason I'm saying no is because it's not open to the general public right now. You're not going to be able to find it in the Google Play Store, for example. However, if you go and fill out, the request, even if you're not in the research, yes, we will approve you to join the beta for now. So technically anyone can join, but it's just not open to it's not available publicly. But even if you're not in the research, yes, you can currently ask to join the beta app. So hopefully that. Yes. All right. And I see, again, in the chat, does the app feed data to the data studio? So not yet. The way it works right now is you're going to have to manually download that CSV. So you're going to go to the app, you're going to go into the menu, and there's an get interactions CSV. And then depending on your Apple or, you're on iOS or Android, will depend on how you go about getting it. For now, that's what you have to do. The app team is working on doing an automatic connection. Unfortunately, we're not there just yet, but we're working on it. For now, though, you have to go ahead and you have to download the CSV, and then like Marilyn does, you can go, you can sort of copy paste that data into a separate Google Sheets and use that for your dashboard. If you want to do the slightly simpler, just download the CSV and you can directly connect that though.
My problem was I have some programs set up that it automatically opens into. And so I don't have those menu choices.
Oh, no.
So all I do though is I click save as an attachment to my drive, OneDrive.
Yes. Okay.
And then I go on my computer and it's there, and I open it up in Excel, and then I copy and paste the rows I want. Okay. So it's very fast, but it's not as automatic as how you were showing me.
And unfortunately, however, I do appreciate you bringing that up. Unfortunately, I gave like sort of general directions. It doesn't mean it's always going to work. So definitely feel free to join like the Discord channel and be like, help, or email me again, Jenny@theycantalk.org. And I will let you know, sometimes I'm a little slow with my email because I'm also like in a master's program and doing other stuff, but I'm going to get back to you as soon as I can and try to help out. All right. We don't want to go too long, but I see we do have another question from Katie. So one question about recording interactions in the app where the learner and teacher are both pressing buttons. I've been logging these separately. For example, my learner pushed outside and I modeled back outside yes. I'd be entering this twice, the learner and then my response. But will there be a way to log back and forth conversations more easily? Yeah, so we're working on it.
That, yeah.
Yeah.
They're working on it.
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to the app, we're definitely in the background. There's lots and lots of features being worked on and all kinds of stuff. And one of the things is if you go and join the Discord, which Kelly put the link in the Zoom chat at the very least, for the They Can Talk Discord. If you join that, we're really great about getting feedback from there and making sure we're pushing our developers on it. So one of the things that currently, we're bringing up to our developers and trying to get through is that more conversation aspect, as opposed to, it's not just a simple, they pressed buttons and they pressed more buttons, they pressed more buttons, but we actually are working on that sort of that conversation aspect. And if you have more like feedback suggestions, and let's say you don't want to join the Discord for whatever reason, which is fine. It's lots of technology out there. Not everyone wants to do everything. We do have a feedback form as well. And I believe it's like a Google form, and you can kind of fill out, here's what's going on with the the FluentPet app. And like, something I would like to suggest, things like that. All right. We are slightly past 7:00. So I'm actually really proud. I was expecting us to go to like 8:00. So go us.
Dusty will not allow that. He's demanding dinner.
Dinner now. I get that. I had a quick dinner before this, so I understand Dusty. So with that, really quick, I want to give you guys a chance if you want to share like social media handles or any, areas people can find you specifically for anything. Marilyn and Lindsay?
All of mine are Abby Can Talk, whether it needs a hashtag or an @ sign. And I'm on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
Marilyn, you're
And
much
I wish
more
I could
ambitious
post
than we
once
are.
and it would go everywhere.
We're just at Dewey_doodling on Instagram. And then there's a link to our link tree I posted in there too, that you can get to the dashboards and the tutorials that I created. Again, a little outdated, given that we've got the app that was all pre-app. But if you need inspiration or backup, and feel free to message me. I'm also on Discord and on the on They Can Talk. So happy to answer questions and
Facebook page?
take a look at spreadsheets and all of that good stuff.
What was that, Marilyn? You got really quiet.
What was your Facebook page, Lindsay?
Oh, I've got a link tree. But
I
and
have
then
my link tree on my Facebook page.
Oh, ours is just separate. I'm not on Facebook.
Oh, you're not on Facebook. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I get that.
I'm not very good at social media. So we chose one platform.
Okay.
You're on Instagram.
Yeah, we're on Instagram at Dewey_doodling.
Okay, that's what
I have a link tree /doggy stars where it's like I have a service dog blog and everything that has not been updated in a while, but like it has my sort of more personal Instagram, which again hasn't been updated in a while. So in relation to like FluentPet stuff, I definitely recommend contacting me on Discord or through the forum, or you can always email me, jenny@theycantalk.org. I'm happy to answer questions and try to help. We've also talked if people are interested in having like a new channel in the Discord specifically focused on like the dashboards, we can even create that new channel just for questions related to that and for formulas and things.
I got you, Lindsay.
Nice.
So
find you.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. And we really appreciate you joining us for this beginner series number 3. Hopefully it was helpful and not just more confusing. We always hope. We really look forward to seeing you more, on the Discord, in the forum, and for future beginner series. We are hoping to do these at least once a month, completely different topic each time. And eventually we're hoping to even do like maybe once a week or so, but we're not there yet, but we're getting there. We're working on it. So keep an eye on the Twitch channel, keep an eye on the Discord and all of that. And thank you so much for joining us.
There's one last thing. Last thing. In Discord, someone asks if we're going to be able to have the slides from this presentation available.
Oh.
They're welcome to look at mine. Yes. So I'm fine.
Sure. I will. So what I will do is, because I also want to put all the links and stuff that I had in the slides available to people. So what I will do is I will put them in Discord and on the forum. So you don't have to join Discord if you don't want to, or you don't have to join the forum if you don't want to, but at least one of those locations. Give me a couple of days. It might not be immediate, but I will put these slides and a list of all these links again in Discord and on the forum for everyone. Thank you so much. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Everyone.